Can you really live off Bitcoin? That's the question that I've been wrestling with as a father of four and after 14 years as a law enforcement officer. I've seen families destroyed by money stress. I've lived it too, trying to stretch every dollar, wondering how to build a future for my kids that isn't eaten alive by inflation and broken retirement promises. And here's the shocking truth: you don't need to be a millionaire. Depending on your lifestyle, you may only need a handful of Bitcoin to retire or to quit your job forever. Today, I'm breaking down the real numbers, the strategies, and the mistakes to avoid, so by the end of this video, you will know exactly how much Bitcoin could change your life forever. The traditional retirement system is broken. Financial experts say you need at least $1.5 million to $2 million today to retire comfortably. But the median retirement savings for people in their 50s is well under $200,000. That's the Federal Reserve's own data. And inflation? It's eating those savings alive. Bitcoin flips the script. Since 2011, Bitcoin has averaged over 200% growth per year. Now, it won't always be that high, but its scarcity and adoption make it one of the strongest assets for long-term retirement planning. When I wore the badge, I saw paycheck-to-paycheck stress rip families apart. And now, as a dad of four, I don't dream about fancy cars. I dream about putting my kids through college, keeping food on the table, and never having to worry about money again. Let's talk about the numbers. If you want a bare bones retirement, let's say $50,000 a year, you need around 4 to maybe 5 Bitcoin by 2030. That's if Bitcoin hits $500,000 a coin. If you want a comfortable retirement, closer to $100,000 a year, that's about 8 to 10 Bitcoin. If you're dreaming of a high-end lifestyle, vacations, luxury, you're looking at about 20 to 30 Bitcoin. And for me, that's feeding my 4 children, paying for school tuitions, sports fees, family trips, and birthday parties. When I run these numbers, I'm not fantasizing. I'm planning for survival and security. Now, how do we withdraw? The old 4% rule doesn't really work here. With Bitcoin, you can use a dynamic strategy. Sell a little more in a bull market, and you can hold tight in bear market. For example, if you need $100,000 a year, you need about $2.5 million invested. And at $500,000 per Bitcoin, that's about 5 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin hits $1 million, that's just 2.5 Bitcoin. And here's the cool part: you don't have to guess. There are Bitcoin retirement calculators online. You plug in your age, your expenses, and your current stack, and it shows you exactly how much you'll need. As I always said writing police reports, you strip out the emotion and you stick to the facts. These tools let you do the same for retirement. And here's where it gets interesting. The same Bitcoin stack can give you very different lifestyles depending on where you live. Let's say in California, you might need $80,000 to $100,000 per year, and that's about 8 to 10 Bitcoin. In Texas or the Midwest, you could live off of $50,000 per year, about 4 to 5 Bitcoin. And if you move abroad, places like Mexico or Thailand, you could retire on $25,000 to $35,000 a year. And that's just 2 to 3 Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't just a retirement plan, it's a geographic freedom tool. Now, let's take a step back and look at Bitcoin's history. In 2013, Bitcoin was $100. If you invested $100 back then, today it would be worth over $500,000. In 2017, Bitcoin peaked at $20,000. People thought it was over, but if you held until now, you'd still be up more than 3x. In 2021, Bitcoin hit $69,000. It dropped to under $16,000 during the bear market. People panicked, but here we are, and Bitcoin is pushing higher again. And history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Every cycle has corrections. Every cycle has panic, but every cycle, Bitcoin's floor gets higher. And that's why you don't just look at the day-to-day, you zoom out. So how do you actually build that stack? For 90% of people, dollar cost averaging, or DCA, is the best strategy. Even $50 or $100 a month adds up over time. Stick with it and you'll be shocked what it becomes in 10 years. And I'll link my full DCA strategy video at the end so you can see exactly how I do it. Now, let's talk about volatility. I've been in crisis negotiations and critical incidents where chaos was everywhere, and you only survive by staying calm. Bitcoin is the same. Volatility is loud. Now, let's cover risk, custody, protect your Bitcoin with a hardware wallet. Taxes, plan for them. Diversify. Don't rely only on Bitcoin. If you're committed to the long game, not just chasing hype, drop a rocket emoji in the comments below. Let's see how many of us are building for the future. Let's talk about the psychology of money. Most people don't fail because they picked the wrong investment. They fail because they panic. They chase pumps. They sell bottoms. They get emotional. And as a police officer, I saw the same thing. When people panic, they make terrible decisions. But the people who stay calm, who look at the big picture, those are the ones who make it out alive. And Bitcoin teaches you that same discipline. It forces you to delay gratification, to play the long game, to think about your future self. That mindset shift, that's just as valuable as the money itself. Now let's look at some real-world case studies. Early adopters, people who bought Bitcoin in 2013, 2014, and 2015, many of them are retired today. Some families are living abroad, paying their expenses entirely with Bitcoin. Others are borrowing against their Bitcoin stack, using it as collateral and never selling a single coin. I've seen debt break families, but I've also met Bitcoiners who flip the script. They're not just rich on paper, they're free in real life. Every Bitcoin I buy isn't for me. It's for my kids. It's a seed I plant now so they can sit in the shade tomorrow. And even if you're starting late, don't panic. If you start with $100 a month, 10 years from now, you can still build a meaningful stack. I wish my parents had Bitcoin. They worked hard, but the system was stacked against them. And I won't let that happen to my kids. Now let's compare Bitcoin to traditional assets. If you put $10,000 into gold 10 years ago, you'd have about $12,000 today. If you put that same money into the S&P 500, you'd have around $28,000. But if you put $10,000 into Bitcoin 10 years ago, you'd have over $600 million. That's the difference. Real estate is slow and illiquid. Stocks are tied to companies that inflate and even collapse. Gold protects you, but it doesn't grow. Bitcoin is scarce, decentralized, and has the strongest growth curve in history. And here's the future of Bitcoin retirement. You won't just have to sell your Bitcoin to live on it. You'll be able to borrow against it, living off loans while your stack keeps growing. The Lightning Network is making everyday Bitcoin spending faster and easier. And Bitcoin yield products are emerging, ways to earn passive income without touching your stack. Imagine retiring without ever selling a single Bitcoin, living off the future while holding your stack forever. Now let's look at adoption. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. But here's the reality. With ETFs pulling in billions, corporations buying, and even countries like El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, how many coins are really left for everyday people like you and me? The supply is fixed, but the demand keeps growing. As more institutions pile in and more countries adopt, the window to stack Bitcoin gets smaller. That's why I tell people, don't wait for the perfect price. Stack now, little by little, before the supply gets locked up forever. Now I want to hear from you. How much would you need per year to retire? $50,000? $100,000? $200,000? Drop your number in the comments below. Bitcoin isn't just about your retirement. It's about your kids and their kids. It's the first asset in history that you can truly pass down without banks, courts, or governments. And as a father of 4 children, this is what motivates me the most. I'm not just stacking Bitcoin for my retirement, I'm stacking it to create a legacy. I'm teaching my kids about money, about responsibility, and about freedom. Multi-sig wallets, inheritance planning, these are things I'm already setting up. Because when I'm gone, I want my kids to know that was built for them. And one day, they'll pass it to their kids. And that is how generational wealth is created. So let's recap. If you want to retire lean, you need around 4 Bitcoin. If you want a comfortable lifestyle, 8 to 10 Bitcoin. And if you want luxury, you need about 20 to 30 Bitcoin. The math is clear. The tools make it personal, and the strategy is simple. Start with DCA, dollar cost averaging. Stay disciplined and zoom out. If you're serious about building your stack, watch my dollar cost averaging video next. That's where I show step by step how I DCA, why I never sell, and how you can apply it today. And I'll link it right here on the screen. Subscribe to the Smash Crypto Zone, and together, let's build the future our families deserve.